here today to talk a little bit about the skills that we believe here at the Langley School matter most in a student's educational experience. And before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about us. We're going to talk through the skills high school and colleges are expecting from graduates of the Langley School, a forecast of the skills that we think the workforce will demand in the future. And we're going to talk in great detail about how our school prepares students for their academic and work-life futures. If you are not familiar with our school, Langley School is a preschool through grade 8 school located in McLean, Virginia. We have an even balance of boy and girl students in our school and a student-teacher ratio of approximately 7-to-1. 40% of the families that enroll their children in our school identify as diverse in some way, which is a really important part of our learning environment and culture. We're on a 9.2-acre campus. A lot of folks don't realize that our school is as large as it is because we're kind of tucked off of a street in a residential neighborhood. And our philosophy at the highest level really is about building a very, very strong student, teacher, and parent-centered culture where the relationships between the students, their teachers, and the parents are at the heart of our educational mission and enterprise. If you spent any time on Langley's website, and I encourage you to do so if you have not, you will hear us refer to and describe Langley's arc of development. What we believe at the Langley School is that the most complex and dynamic growth, cognitively, socially, and emotionally, happens between the ages of 3 years of age and in the preschool timeframe all the way through middle school. And if you think about the difference between a 3-year-old and an 8th grader, we see them both on our campus every day. It is dramatic. And so we at Langley hire teachers who are developmental experts in some portion of this arc. So for instance, our preschool teachers are early childhood specialists who know all of the nuances of what happens for a 3-year-old over the course of an academic year. Similarly, our 3rd grade team knows really, really well all of the different intellectual and social and emotional milestones that a 3rd grader might encounter during that stage of their life. What we know is that these years from preschool through grade 8 are the most dynamic and complex, and the development is so vitally unfolding that if you have a truly exceptional academic experience in these foundational years, it gives you a platform from which to launch into high school, college, and beyond. And we really are grateful for parents who invest in the Langley experience from preschool all the way through grade 8 because they're giving their child that gift of a superb early education where they draw confidence, where they come to understand themselves as learners and as they prepare for high school. This is a really dense next slide, and I'm not going to read it to you. And you will have an opportunity to get the link to this webinar, and if you visit our website, the webinar will be available there as well. But the essence of this quote, this is from a parent of 2 Langley alums, class of 12 and class of 15. And what she essentially describes in this quote is how her son and daughter's education at Langley really was the linchpin to their success in high school, college, and beyond. Both of her children uncovered passions in their love of learning and their cognitive profiles around certain subjects at Langley in the hands of teachers who noticed their capability, who nurtured their passion, their curiosity, and their desire, and gave them, instilled in them a sense of confidence and capability so that when they left us and went on to 2 different high schools and ultimately 2 different colleges, they were so well prepared for their academic life. And what's really wonderful is this parent is able to go back and think about teachers along that arc who touched, nurtured, and deepened her children's enthusiasm and drive to be young scholars. And I think that quote really captures it. She also reflects very specifically how our commitment to social and emotional learning helped deepen her children as people, how they actually really embraced thinking about the kind of human beings they were going to be, the kinds of friends they were going to be, the way they move through the world. So again, you hear us talk at Langley a lot about this rich balance and the mutually reinforcing nature of a truly excellent academic program and this commitment to developing young people of substance, of character, of social and emotional capacity. So I'm going to pass the baton now over to Nola Ray, who will tell us a little bit about how our graduates head into the high school process.
Thank you. So one of the goals here at Langley is making sure that we're a school that intentionally didn't have a high school. It focuses on what makes middle school an exceptional experience. The parent in that last slide, as Eleanor shared, really captures that beautifully. When we work here to make a meaningful, enriching, and rigorous middle school experience, we authentically provide that necessary foundation for high school, any high school, and well beyond that. When we consider often what high schools are looking for, we know that academically challenged and well-prepared students are high on that list. Langley graduates know how to persuasively write, think deeply, explore curiosities, and work independently. They are guided by our inquiry-based curriculum you'll learn a little bit more about. Our students seek to solve complex problems across disciplines using multiple strategies and perspectives. These are traits that allow them to confidently tackle these complex and advanced coursework in high school and in college. We hear that over and over again. High schools are also looking for confident contributors in and out of the classroom. And so simply, that means they are looking for students who will spark conversation in class, in a debate, organize and service in a club, take lead on the field, and manage their time and responsibilities. Starting in our early grades here at Langley, graduates learn to present their ideas and express them clearly, work cooperatively and confidently as a group and on their own, and take intellectual risk. At Langley, students are not only just dependent on their teachers to drive their learning, they are active participants. We expect that from them. We want them to be in charge and part of their educational journey. Lastly, high schools are also looking for students who are social and emotionally resilient. You'll learn a little bit more about our REACH program, but here is where we teach students how to learn to take risks and bounce back, not just from regular everyday disappointments within their social groups or in the classroom, but also unexpected outcomes. We know that throughout their development in our lower grades as well as in the middle school, being able to create social emotionally resilient students has long-term effects and benefits. Langley students not only learn how to learn, but they learn how to evaluate their own learning style and to ask for help when needed. This means whatever they choose to do next, they know how to seek the answers to themselves, as well as to find out adults or peers in their community that can help them find the answers that they might need. They are leaders in their individual divisions, whether it's lower school, middle school, or even our primary divisions, and mentors across campus. Just today, we had our second grade students share their play and provide an exceptional opportunity for us to see those students show leadership and strength on the stage. Experiences like our kindergarten to 8th grade buddies also highlight a partnership that creates empathy and leadership. When we think about even further along, it's helpful for us to reflect not just what high schools are needing for our graduates in their next stage, but what colleges are looking for down the line. Gone are the days when schools wanted rote memorization and facts. Schools want to see what students can do with that information. Can they show initiative and work under pressure? Can they work independently? And we know here at Langley, it's a resounding yes to all of the skills that we know high schools are looking for, and certainly for college graduates. We hear that when college graduates come back to our fall fair to talk about their experiences and what strengths they learn here. And it's certainly something we hear ongoingly from our parents. Our students are able to show the growth and potential, the interest in activities, and the resilience that schools like Harvard, but all across the world, are looking for in students who can contribute. The workforce is no different. Employers are looking for students who can work in a changing world. Again, they are looking for people who not only can follow directions, but can solve problems, think critically and creatively. 5 years from now, 35% of the skills considered important in today's workforce will have changed as we consider AI, learning machines, and how the world is transforming at such an exponential rate. Workforce is needing people who are going to be able to take these changes and know that they can move through them. Employers want candidates that can inspire, create new ideas, and move the needle. And creativity and the ability to work independently and with others is going to be essential. They are needing what we are offering from our Langley graduates.
Thank you, Nola Ray. So I am excited to talk a little bit about how do we achieve this with our kids? How do we really purposefully think backwards about how are students going to leave the time that they have with us with these skills and these dispositions that we know are so important to them in high school and beyond. So we know that we are committed to providing students what they're going to need to be successful. And one way that we do that is by getting really clear on what we mean when we say inquiry. So we use an inquiry-based program and we ask these questions as educators and we work together collaboratively to answer them. So what do we want students to know and be able to do? How are we going to set up lessons and units that are going to make sure they really solidify those skills? And then how do we collect evidence of understanding to know where students are in their learning? So we have used an idea of inquiry essential practices here at Langley to get really clear on this as a group of educators. So we believe that in every single class, every single day, students need to have access to these 5 things in order to really meaningfully engage in their own learning. So every class, they are having access to investigation, to modeling, to practice, feedback, and community building. And we know that this is how students master the skills that matter most to them. So for example, I was in a 3rd grade classroom last week and the students were doing reading. So I come in and I find a classroom full of kids holding different books. They'd each picked different books and they were individually reading their texts. And these were books that they've clearly been reading for a little while, not just this school day. And so I come in and they're using sticky notes to put symbols on and they're annotating as they read. So I come and I ask a few students, hey, what are you working on? Why are you doing it? And they were telling me that they were learning to be mystery readers. And they point to this chart on the board and I see the words motive and opportunity on the board. So I'm curious and I'm asking them more, okay, what do you do? What do good mystery readers do? And they were able to tell me, well, good mystery readers are paying really close attention to the details to find out who the suspects are. But suspects have to be people who have motive, which means they have reason to commit the crime, and opportunity, so they were able to do it. And then they were reading their individual text to try to find evidence of this. So as I was talking to these students, I noticed the teacher is going around student by student, asking questions about their text, checking in with the kid, giving them feedback on what they needed to focus on most. This is such a great example of inquiry at its best. The students had a clear model of what they needed to be doing. They knew the really advanced vocabulary that they needed to apply of suspect and opportunity specific to the skill of being a mystery reader. They were having independent time to investigate their own text and practice applying this new thinking in their own way. They were getting feedback from the teacher, and they were creating a community of being mystery readers. They saw themselves as efficacious mystery readers, and they know that they could do it. So that's just one example of how we make sure we're building these opportunities for kids where we're really clear on, hey, here's the skill that you're working on today and how you're going to get there. As Eleanor mentioned earlier, there is mutually reinforcing, we believe deeply in mutually reinforcing aspects of kids' learning. So we know that students need to be both emotionally and socially resilient in developing those skills as well as their academic skills. We know that students learn best when we see the whole child and not just one piece at a time. So in order to reach their full academic potential, students also need to be working on these other skills as well. SEL, as many of you may know, stands for social and emotional learning. And at Langley, we've developed a unique approach to that called REACH, which means raising emotional acuity, cultural responsiveness, and healthy behaviors. We know that students need to be able to focus on these 3 skills, so emotional intelligence, cultural responsiveness, and understanding of health and wellness throughout their time with us. And as Dr. Scully mentioned, there's a very steep arc between a 3-year-old and an 8th grader. And so finding ways to intentionally support that is key to the work that we do. One example that we have, or that I saw a couple weeks ago, is I was in a junior kindergarten class with one of our teachers, and the students were playing a game called Banana Tag. And it was really wonderful to see how she set it up, because she stood up and she said, okay, let's remember we're going to play banana tag, and we've already practiced. Do we run in a straight line? Do we run in a zigzag line? All these different ways, really helping kids know the different types of movement that they needed to be focusing on. But she took it one step further and she said, okay, in banana tag, this is how we play. If you get tagged by somebody who has the banana, that's how you know who's it. They have a banana stuffy. So if you get tagged by the banana, you're frozen and you have to stand there, and you can't yell out. You just have to stand with your hands in the air looking like a banana. And she said, we do this because friends pay attention to when friends need help. So she's helping these junior kindergartners in a really concrete way know that friendship means you have to pay attention to others around you. Even when you're in the middle of a really exciting game of tag and all you want to do is be running fast, you have to pay attention to what friends might need help. So then if you run and you can help a friend who's tagged by peeling them, pull their hands down, and then they're unfrozen and they're able to play again. But she took it again a step further and said, friends say thank you when they get help. And so again, the junior kindergartners have to stop and remember, hey, thank you for unfreezing me before they could run around. So I thought this was just a great example of how we are able to take social and emotional learning and embed it in the way that students are learning all along the arc and in their classes, whether it's a physical education class or a social studies class. We also have the opportunity for our middle school students and our lower school students to participate in a REACH class where they get access to things like mindfulness strategies, where they practice empathy skills. We know now that empathy is a skill that we can practice and learn, just like learning how to be a detective, and where they can practice taking on diverse perspectives. So there are many ways that we intentionally embed this work around social and emotional skills into our students' experience here at Langley. We also believe that it is so critical and important to partner with parents in this work, and it's most powerful when there's a continuum of support for student skills at home and at school. So we commit to this through how we communicate with parents, the way that our teachers know each student by name and need, and through providing opportunities for us all to come together and dialogue around the topics that are most relevant to supporting students. So most recently, our Parent Association PALs invited a local author and speaker to come talk to us about the top 10 skills that middle school students need to thrive. And there were parents and administrators in the room, and it was just, my favorite part was the dialogue at the end. And just listening to the way that the parents were asking each other questions and administrators were partnering and brainstorming ideas around these really tough questions of how much support is too much support, how much autonomy is too much autonomy, and how do we work together as a school community to really support our kids in these ways. And I think the best example of how this plays out at Langley is just the many learning opportunities and experiences that kids have over their course of their time here. We are about to begin, after the holiday break next week, we have a really exciting opportunity for our students to participate in a mini-master project. And what that is when the teachers of all of 8th grade come together and they plan this interdisciplinary, very structured research project for our students to get to apply their skills and really explore what they're most interested in. The topic last year and again this year is on genocide, so really starting to think about the different ways that this has happened in history and maybe currently. They also were working toward this end goal of creating a physical 3D memorial in some way to represent a genocide that they ended up researching. They were able to participate in research projects. They applied algebra and geometry skills. They talked about symbolism and transferred some of the skills from language arts. They went to a bunch of different monuments on the National Mall, participated in a simulation about refugees at the State Department. There were speakers who came in from Advocacy Council on Historic Preservation. There were many rich learning experiences that went into allowing students to dig deeply into this area and apply their skills in a really meaningful way. Writing is a skill that we prioritize and support throughout the time that students have with us. And it's something that teachers collaborate on and talk about, what does strong writing look like and feel like? I was in an English classroom the other day where the teacher was pulling each student individually to confer with them about their intro paragraph to their essay and asking questions that really got students to know exactly what next step they needed to take to solidify their writing. And we also do a lot of exciting opportunities around STEAM. I was in a preschool classroom where kids were taking photos on iPads, and the lesson was, you don't take photos of friends without their permission. And it's such a great example of a really small way where we can start building students' technological comfort, but also their awareness. But then our 8th graders and our 7th graders are using JavaScript to code animation online. And it's a really exciting way to see how students use their skills and then end up applying them in an authentic context. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Scully to close us out.
Okay. So I think that this quote, again, really explicates from the voice of a graduate. This is a student who is in high school now, reflecting on her time with us and how all of the things, all of the experiences that she had during her time at Langley prepared her to be high school ready and really life ready. And I think we spend a lot of time, one of the things that's really kind of magical about Langley is when you think about a child spending a significant chunk of their young life with us. If a student comes to us early on in the arc and stays through middle school, and most of our students fortunately do, they will be with us at Langley longer than any other academic institution of which they will be a part, longer than high school, longer than college. And the relationships that they form with each other and with their teachers draws them back to us. So when they come back at the fall fair or they come back at a reunion, they're bursting with enthusiasm to tell us about how their high school life has gone. And it's a lovely way to see the fruits of our labor thriving in a different environment. So we are very blessed that students maintain these very close bonds with each other, but also with us. And they come back and they share how high school has gone, often how college has gone. And it's just an exceptionally gratifying way to track the progress we've made. On our website, we try to capture some of that for people who don't work here like we do. So there are videos, testimonials, profiles. There's a matriculation list that explains where our students go to high school. One of the things of which I am most proud is that we are not a feeder school to any one high school. Obviously, when someone is 3, 5, 6, 8 years old, you don't know what the right high school is going to be for them until they get to middle school. And because of the confidence that they build, our middle schoolers pick the school that's right for them. This is not a pack mentality. They don't have to go where their best buddy is going. Some of them choose to go to their local public schools because that was kind of the plan all along. But they make discerning choices with their parents about the right next place for them. So I would encourage you to come and take a look at our website and dig in a little bit to these videos and to these presentations, because obviously you can tell Sarah, Nola Ray, and I are all really passionate about this stuff, but I think hearing from the students themselves and from other parents will be inspiring. This last slide shows a picture of our 8th grade graduation. This is a student who is speaking at the graduation. And at Langley, the stars of the graduation are the students, not just in their nice dress and their receiving of diplomas, but actually they speak about Langley. They talk about their experience. They are the signature speakers of that moment of transition. And it's so very Langley that they are. And what they say is exceptionally powerful and moving. What happens at the end of this arc is that we graduate into the world a group of 8th graders who are confident, poised, super optimistic, really ready and hungry for the next leg of their academic journey, and they're ready to give back and do something meaningful with the powerful gifts they possess. They have a sense of connection to something larger than themselves, and they feel called to do good work in the world. And to us, that is the most important thing, that they are in a position to continue to learn throughout the rest of their lives, but also hopefully make a meaningful impact on a world that desperately needs them. So what we would also suggest, in addition to perusing our website, is that you come visit us. For me, parents who are thinking about a Langley experience for their child get the most out of an on-campus visit. We have information sessions where we go deeper into all of the things that you've heard discussed today. And you can come see us on December 10th if you'd like to participate in that. And we also would welcome you on a tour. We have a terrific enrollment team who would be happy to show you around the campus. So please come and visit us. With that, we're going to take some questions. And the first question I'm going to ping back to Nola Ray. But the first question is, how would you say area high schools describe a Langley graduate?
So I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to visit many of the schools our students either have applied and attended to in the past or are considering. And so this fall has been filled of a lot of visits that have been warm and welcoming. The number one question I ask is, what are the things that we're doing right and what can we do better? Not necessarily to make sure that we are placing students in a position for a particular school, but to ensure that we are making sure our students are going to be the most successful wherever they might go. The one thing I keep hearing over and over again is not only how strong our students are as applicants, but also how strong they are as students once they get there. And these are many highly competitive schools. Just talk about the strength of our students, how willing they are from day one to jump in and be leaders and to take initiatives, ask for help, and support other students whose transition might not be as seamless as theirs have been. And so that has been a fabulous thing, just to be able to hear that the work we're doing is great, but also to keep ensuring that we're making sure students are in a really great place.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nola Ray. So we have one more question that it appears has come in, and that will probably work well for our timing. And this question is, I've heard from a current parent that in middle school, students have advisory at the start of the day. Can you tell me about how that time is used?
Yes. So our advisory program is part opportunity for students to gather, and we have advisory lessons to kind of aid and contribute to our REACH program. But part of advisory is ensuring that every single middle school student has an adult who knows them well. And so they get an advisor in their 6th grade year, whichever year they start with us. And then they have that same advisory through their time in middle school. They meet every day at the start of the day to start their day with attendance, but it's also a really great opportunity to have a check-in. Sometimes parents might say he slept long, or she had a tough night, or our cat is unwell. And so those are really wonderful and beautiful moments for the adults to check in and make sure they're okay. But it also means checking in about social situations or academics. How are classes going? It's their point person for all the teachers to be able to say, hey, just checking in on this kid and want to make sure your advisee is doing okay. But also it's a really safe space to be in. They do activities and games, and it can be quite fun to see them together. But advisory makes sure that every student in the middle school is known, and that each student has someone they can rely on.
The other thing that's really cool about advisory is that it's mixed grade level. And so it provides some continuity, and it also provides a really lovely opportunity for students to kind of onboard and welcome in 6th graders as they're transitioning into middle school. And then they maintain this really close-knit community as the 8th graders graduate out and new 6th graders come in. So it creates kind of a generational feel, which is a really nice and lovely thing to see as well.
Many of you may have young children. They may be in preschool or junior kindergarten, and so it's probably hard to imagine that one day you would have a student poised on the stage at an 8th grade graduation I think we all know how quickly that time goes and how fast a young person grows up. But one of the things that I think distinguishes our model is the absence of a high school really highlights not only the arc, but those years of middle school where you could normally feel a little betwixt and between. Our middle schoolers feel like they are leading the school. And that posture, that confidence, that kindness that they exhibit to younger students gives them a particular kind of empathy and a particular way of leading the school that is really special. So thank you all for joining the webinar this afternoon. We wish you a very hopeful and healthy Thanksgiving if you're heading into the holiday season next week. And please do come visit us at Langley. We're awfully proud of the work we do. I'm sure you can tell that from this webinar, but we're much better in person. So come visit us and take a look. Thank you.